It's time to talk NWA Powerrr episode 14 on Kayfabe Commentary. My name is Erik Rupp, and today we're going to be talking about the latest episode of NWA Powerrr. This one, another winner. Just a lot of great stuff going on, but rather than doing things in order the way I've been doing it, there's just the bigger story that's going on right now between the NWA and Ring of Honor. Nick Aldis has retaliated against Marty Scurll and Ring of Honor. Nick Aldis last weekend, he invaded two different Ring of Honor events, first attacking Flip Gordon on Saturday, and then on Sunday, he put on a headset, went on mic, and challenged Marty Scurll and Villain Enterprises. Now, Nick Aldis, the real world's heavyweight champion, he is firmly of the belief that Marty Scurll has no place coming to the NWA, going to NWA tapings, and so he has retaliated, and he is basically taking matters into his own hands. So we're going to see Nick Aldis against Flip Gordon at NWA Hard Times coming up on pay-per-view. This should be a really good match. Nick wanting to set the tone and let everybody know that the NWA is his place and that if you're not part of the NWA, you don't have a place there. Now, I don't necessarily agree with Nick on that. I think it's great if somebody from Ring of Honor or Impact or anywhere else shows up and wants to be a part of NWA Powerrr. That's great. The more the merrier. Let's bring in the best and let's see who is the best. But Nick Aldis, the national treasure, the real world's heavyweight champion, he has his point of view, and he is definitely enforcing it because he believes he has the power, he has the clout, and he is the one that is going to set the tone for the NWA. This is really going to be interesting stuff, and interesting to see as Marty Scurll is going to be showing up for NWA Powerrr tapings. Will there be further conflict between Nick Aldis and his old friend Marty Scurll? This is going to be good stuff. Now, the main event of episode 14 of NWA Powerrr was the big six-man tag between the Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson and two mystery partners, and Team Aldis, which comprised of the Wild Cards and none other than Scott Steiner. Well, the episode opened up with the Rock and Roll Express doing a promo, and Ricky Morton is still one of the most charismatic wrestlers in the business. He is fantastic on the mic. He has lost not a single thing. He is a great performer on the microphone, and he'd be great doing color commentary for matches. I think he'd be fantastic at that. Maybe when he finally retires from wrestling, that would be somewhere where he could go, because Ricky Morton is fantastic on the mic, and they keep it a secret as to who their partners are going to be for the big tag match. And, of course, that then led us into a promo with Zicky Dice and Ricky Starks. Zicky Dice being outlandish as usual, but Ricky Starks just absolutely owning the Outlanders, Zicky Dice. Ricky Starks was fantastic. He did a great job for his part. And I'll tell you what, I really hope the two of those meet up in the TV title tournament, because that could be one heck of a match. It's become something of a grudge match between them, too. Now, when you're talking about the TV tournament, you had the other surprise match, Dave Dawson versus Zane Dawson. Brother versus brother, tag team partner versus tag team partner. This was a no-holds-barred, no-quarter-given match. These two guys went after each other. They didn't hold anything back. An extremely physical match. Now, with these two big guys, it's not going to be an acrobatic match, not going to be a lot of ring gymnastics. But it wasn't a slow-moving match. There was a lot of action in there, and it was a really good match. Zane competing with a broken arm, no less, and he still managed to get the win and move forward in the tournament. So it'll be interesting to see who he goes up against. But that was just a really good match. A lot of entertainment value between the Dawsons there. Definitely a good thing. Now, we also saw a brief story, or kind of a vignette, of Ken Anderson and Colt Cabana. And it's clear that this tag team is in trouble. Colt still believes that he can help Ken Anderson, but he knows that something's up with Ken Anderson. Anderson is not altogether happy. He's got some issues, and Colt is hoping to get those taken care of. Anderson, for his part, he's in total denial that there's any issue going on, but he's got some bitterness that he's denying vehemently. He's also angry, which he's trying to hide, but not really doing a good job of it. So it'll be interesting to see how this team holds up, if it holds up, over the next few months. And then we got to the first singles match in the NWA for Melina. She was taking on Ashley Vox, a smaller opponent, but still a very good wrestler, very athletic, very determined. I mean, nobody has more heart than Ashley Vox. So this was her first singles match for Melina, and it was really a good match. Not quite the epic match that we saw the week before between Thunder Rosa and ODB, but it was a good match. There was a lot of back and forth action, the two of them really showing well in the match. But ultimately, Melina got the win, and then she challenged Allison Kay to a title match for the following week. Allison Kay came out, accepted the challenge, and wanted to have the match right then and there. Melina, for her part, backed off. Said, no, it's going to be next week. I want to do it next week. So Melina not quite ready to take on Allison Kay at that time. Allison Kay ready to go anytime, anywhere to take on Melina. So next week, this week coming up, we've got Melina against Allison Kay for the women's title, and that should be a really good match. After that, Pope brought out Eddie Kingston and Homicide, and they challenged Aaron Shooter Stevens, and the Question Mark to a tag team match. Now, Homicide's left shoulder was still injured, and you kind of wondered, is he coming back too soon? It was taped up, so we would see, what's going on with that injury. He said it was fine. Eddie Kingston said it was fine, but it turned out that injured shoulder was the difference. That set up a win for the Question Mark and Aaron Stevens. Stevens, to his credit, worked that shoulder repeatedly throughout the match, and that got to a point where it prevented Homicide from laying down what could have been a finishing move, and ultimately set up the Question Mark for the Mongrovian spike to both Eddie Kingston and Homicide, which gave Stevens the pin and the win. Pope, for his part, really looked disappointed at the loss by Kingston and Homicide. Now that brought us to the main event, Team Aldis versus Team Morton, with a World Heavyweight title shot on the line. Now, Nick noted how Scott Steiner helped him early on in his career, and he was really appreciative of what Steiner had done for him. Steiner got the mic, and he went on a tirade, an angry rant, and he gave Nick Aldis credit for being a world-class champion. But I'll tell you what, Steiner, that was one of his classic angry rants, not particularly fond of the people in the crowd that were not physically fit, shall we say. So we get to the match. The Wild Cards and Steiner versus Robert Gibson and his partners Tim Storm and Eli Drake. Now, this match was a good match. And the big thing in this match was that Steiner, being the wild card, let's face it, the Steiner brothers are one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Scott Steiner was definitely one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time before becoming a singles champion. But at this point in his career, Steiner, while still really strong, he's not as quick or as flexible as he used to be, and he ended up not being a major factor in the match. He definitely laid the smackdown a few times, but he was not a major factor. His presence was more of one there for intimidation. Now, the match ended up breaking down into chaos, with four guys fighting outside the ring. Team Morton got the win after a shot by Eli Drake led to a pin by Robert Gibson. That sets up, for the next episode of Powerrr, Ricky Morton versus Nick Aldis for the World's Heavyweight Championship. I don't think anybody in the world would have expected to see that in 2020. But that's what we're going to see on the next episode of Powerrr. Nick Aldis defending his World's Heavyweight Championship against Ricky Morton.